Becoming a car guy was kind of a long evolution for me, and I think it really comes back to some of my roots here in Detroit, where I'm visiting for a few days. I haven't been here for several decades, but there are several things about my old stomping grounds that I think were seeds that contributed to me becoming a car guy, and so I'm going to visit some of those over the next few days. So on this street is pretty much where things started out for me, and some of the seeds for me being a car guy were planted. And I remember, this isn't car related, but we had a next door neighbor, a couple of next door neighbors that were actually submarine captains. And people think, well, how could you have submarine captains in Detroit? But true, there was a submarine, I don't know if there still is, but there was a submarine here in Detroit, I think for training purposes. But one of the sub-captains had a wife who had a Mustang that had rust problems, and her name was Zelda, and she called it Zelda's Rustang. And then about three more doors down, there was a guy who, he worked for Chevrolet, a division of Chevrolet. He was actually working on prototypes of the Corvettes. And his son was a little bit older than me, and he would tell me stories of his dad bringing home, the Mako Shark and other Corvette prototypes and things of that nature. And his son had a go-kart that had a fiberglass body, a red fiberglass body on it, and it looked a little bit like a Corvette or something of that nature. And I remember he never really used that body on the go-kart, but he would get that go-kart out from time to time and drive it around and try to keep away from the cops, and it was just a lot of fun to see all that stuff happening. Right around the corner there was a guy named Michael, and he had just returned home from Vietnam at one point, and he built a rail car. I guess he had some kind of a kit, or he built a rail car, a dragster. And I remember it had, those vertical stacks with those orange balls that he kept in there, and on a lot of Saturday mornings he'd fire that thing up on Saturday morning. He'd made all kinds of noise all throughout the neighborhood. And I was friends with his sister Judy, and I remember that one day Judy brought me in the garage to see the rail car, and Michael was there, and he picked me up and put me in the seat of that rail car. It had the butterfly steering wheel and everything. That was one of the coolest memories that I have as a kid, is sitting in that rail car. One of my earliest and fondest memories of driving or being in a car relates to our family on occasion taking a Sunday drive down Lakeshore Road. There used to be some amazingly large mansions here along the road. I have pretty clear memories of driving down Lakeshore Road, and it was kind of a formative part of my appreciation for driving. Certainly not performance driving, but an aspect of driving that I really appreciated as a kid. As a little boy, one of the things that fascinated me was this property at the north end of Lakeshore Drive. And actually, this isn't a house, this is a guest house. This is the guest house on the property of the Edsel Ford Estate. Henry Ford had one son, Edsel, and he and Eleanor built an amazing home on this property. It's over 80 acres. And I was never able to see beyond this, but in the mid-70s, Eleanor passed away, and she left this property to be enjoyed by the general public. And so, as far as I can tell, this is the last remaining of the big old homes on Lakeshore Road. Now, this is the house that Edsel and Eleanor built on their 87-acre estate, built in 1927, 30,000 square feet with about 60 rooms. The backside of the home faces Lake St. Clair. It's a beautiful view, and the estate has a pool and a very impressive pool house in its own right. One of the most interesting features on the property is a playhouse that was built for their only daughter, Josephine. It was given to her by her grandmother for her 7th birthday. It's a 2/3 scale actual home with a working kitchen and bathroom and furniture to scale, and it's all working. And then when we toured the home, we were told that the entry actually was not a guest house, but quarters for some of the key staff. And there is a garage there, and we went through the garage, and at the time there was an exhibit called Women Who Motor, featuring an old electric car, Eleanor's limousine, and a fastback Mustang. The Henry Ford Museum was an inspiration to me when I was a boy. Now it's simply called the Henry Ford, but what an amazing collection of cars, airplanes, locomotives, steam-driven power, and there are all kinds of things that the Henry Ford Museum has, but it was those cars, I think, that initially planted some of that car guy seed in me. I can't give you a whole tour. It would take a whole day to really see everything here, but I can show you some clips and put it to music for your enjoyment. As I leave Detroit, I'm reminded of one of those other seeds that was planted, and it's this great big tire behind me, the world's biggest tire. Actually, it's not made out of rubber. It's made out of plastic or composite or something. And originally it was a Ferris wheel at a World's Fair, and then it was brought here to Detroit to be on permanent display. And I remember this pretty clearly as a kid. It's right off Highway 94. But as I leave, I say goodbye, Detroit, and I say goodbye to the giant tire for now.